Hi, everybody. I'm Sod.
And I'm Punk.
I'm KP and clipping my fingernails.
Yay!
And collectively, we are
I'm not
definitely not
a Popufur.
It never works. It never works when we
It's
try
okay.
to do it at the after hour. It's okay.
I just got reminded I should probably clip my nails too.
Okay.
Hey, we could clip them for distance. Just see how far we can get them across the room.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, 10 meters.
There you
Anyway, this is what the listeners came here for, let me tell you. So, yes, you're listening to the After Hour episode. I'm definitely not a Popufur. And whether you're here with Kuddlepup from the Funday Pawpet Show, from so many other things in life. This is, again, free-flowing, random discussion, whatever we feel like. But, of course, I have to do what I do, and I have to ask about the most important and pressing questions of our day, which is, of course, Kuddlepup. Who is that dapper dog?
Who is that dapper dog? He's some guy who has a website or a Twitter account or an X account or whatever the heck they want to call it this week, about trying to be fashionable, and it's based on my closet.
So how did this come about? Because this is not in the fur universe there, obviously, but this is just like, did you always have a fashion sense, or like, what did the
People
suits
have
mean
told
to you, I
me,
guess?
yeah, people have told me, I've been called a dandy. I've been called
Oh,
a number of things. But when it comes to clothes, like my friend Poink once called me, he's of all the fashionistas I know, you are the most fashionable fashionista. So I'm constantly like, he would go to my closet and he would just be like, you got too many damn clothes. And I'm like, well, I don't want to get rid of them. Maybe they'll come back into style. Uh, so I'm looking in the closet now. It's like, there's the business suits, and then there's the rainbow assortment of dress shirts, and then there's the white shirts, and then there's all the other shirts that are long sleeved. And then there start the short sleeve shirts, and then the polo shirts, and they're all on hangers. And then there's other kinds of shirts, and on the other side there's coats and overcoats and beach wear and hats, way too many hats, and all kinds of other assortments of things. And I can actually even see right now a 1992 Olympics Bugs Bunny jacket from the Warner Brothers studio store. It's still in my
Ooh.
closet and it still fits.
oh my God! There's that part of me that's just like, how much does that run for these days? But also, just I didn't know. I think that's incredible. Like that is, I mean, do you have any parachute pants in there? Do we have that
I
era
do not
at all?
have parachute
Okay.
pants, unfortunately.
Okay.
I do, however, potentially have a Michael Jackson Thriller jacket touching my tips of my index fingers together in front of the microphone.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. Between that and the Bugs Bunny, we are fashionable. I
Yes.
had the joy recently of showing Punk the video for Speed Demon by Michael Jackson, the claymation one. Are you familiar with
Hmm.
that? Yes. And so no, number one, every time I join Punk's stream, it shows the footage of the rabbit on the motorcycle. But I just had to show him that because it was just it is something you can't describe to someone. It's just something that they have to experience for themselves. Michael Jackson's whole media universe outside of like the huge songs is just this fascinating quagmire of animation and paranoia and the most off-brand sense of humor that you can imagine. Like it's similar to Prince in that sense, who I also love, where it's just like, I don't know how your sense of humor formed, but it's so specific and insular that I'm just fascinated by it.
Yeah, the one thing about Michael Jackson, I think everybody really needs to always keep in mind, icon of the 80s as always.
Hmm.
Never be anywhere beside him though, because if he turns around, he's going to poke your eye out with those shoulder pads. I mean, they are just going to come,
Oh yeah.
you're going to be one-eyed really quick.
Yeah. Uh, so I asked you at the top of the main episode. I asked you what makes for good for convention. In your mind, what makes a good Paw Pet episode?
So, it's different for each of the cast members. For me, if Simba is there and he can get me to laugh to the point where I start coughing, where I cannot catch my breath, that is an amazing episode. Um,
Mhm.
Scott has a unique ability among all the other cast members to just find the most ridiculous thing and make it so funny to me that I can't breathe. Uh, that that kind of laughter is contagious, and it you can't replicate when everybody is laughing that hard. Just the
Hmm.
absolute joy that we're feeling.
When the cast
You could,
breaks, yeah.
yeah, you feel it through the screen, and you know that that's real. That there is no way we can fake that.
Hmm. Hunk, I'm curious because you had brought this up, especially in the episodes that we've done before about Sunday Puppet. Were there any other like early specific moments or scenes that you remember that were like kind of like imprinted on you? Obviously, we talked about like V and the subservient things, but were there any other things that immediately come to mind when you look back on some of those early days?
Um, I would just say like the set. Like I don't know, the set is just iconic. Like even the fact that now you look at it, it looks almost the same. Pretty much exactly the same it feels like, but like in the modern era. So it's just
Yeah,
Hmm.
that stage has that is actually the same physical stage that we've used for over 20 years. The fabric on the back of the top part of the stage has been replaced because there were all kinds of weird stains and gunk and crust and all kinds of things that you don't want to know about that were on that stage. Um, but the front of the stage, the lower portion of the stage, used to be fabric. Now
mm,
it's a giant, like 80-inch monitor, so that we can change the colors and the the picture-in-picture stuff without having to do overlays. Yappy went to a great deal of trouble making that happen. But the layout of the stage is still pretty much the same. Mutt sits in the upper left-hand corner.
Hmm.
Rummage or Todd would sit in the upper right-hand corner, and then two other puppeteers. Simba usually would be lower left, and then someone else would be lower right, typically Poink when Poink was on cast. Um, that layout really hasn't changed in like 20 plus years just because it works.
Hmm.
mhm.
And since because you were there for so much of it at, all the way back to like episode 5 or whatever, at what point do you feel like this show had fully come into its own or at least found its voice? Or do you feel like it was already there from the beginning?
Well, I think from our perspective, all of us were looking for something different. Yappy was looking for a technical challenge. He
Hmm.
was looking for a way to make things,
Oh.
he's looking for a way to make things happen because at first all we had was a security camera.
Right.
And for Mutt, he was looking to produce. He was looking to try to put something together and, give the show flow. For me, Simba, we were just looking to perform. We're looking to puppeteer. So when everything started working, when we had shows that came together where we had a we had a show run and everybody knew which part they were going to be and what hour they were going to be on, and when the audience was really into it, we would get the response of clap, clap, clap on IRC, or we would get people say, "Hey, can you do this?" And you knew they were really into what we were doing. That's the time when it really came in to its own, and it stayed there for a pretty long time. I would say it stayed at that point for a while, and then it kind of dipped a little bit, and now it's kind of coming back into its own. But I don't know if we'll ever have the sheer volume of active viewers because of limitations with the Chaos Lounge.
Hmm. Understandably. But it's the kind of thing where you as a show have had to adapt to the times, and I think you've done that ably. Even when you ended the show and then brought it back for that year, like it always felt like it had that old school spirit, but it was definitely reflective of it. Like you're pulling up web pages, you're like able to like chat and kind of like bounce off things like all the time. Like I think any good show worth its salt would is worthy of adaptation, or at least is able to adapt, because anything else would just be too locked into its time frame, or at least the era in which it was created. You know?
Yeah, you don't want to feel stale, and
Right.
that's the biggest part of it. And I think because the show and the cast members are always trying to reflect what's going on in the world,
Hmm.
whether it's the internet world, furry world, the real world, we're always trying to talk about things that are at least somewhat topical, but we're
Hmm.
trying to put our own wacky spin on it.
Yeah.
My least favorite part of the shows are when we get heavy,
Mm.
when we get into kind of okay, well, this is a drudgery topic that we don't want to talk about. Those are the times when the show feels like you know, it's draining. But when you can take a moment like that, and then you have someone like Simba who can come up with, creepy and have creepy just walk on the stage and we're in the middle of this heavy topic and it goes, did you know my knees can go backwards? He throws a non sequitur in, and we'll be like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, look, oh, I did the splits. Sorry," and he just walks off. Um, it breaks that, and so it takes you from a really serious low to this really ridiculous moment, and people start laughing. And I think that's the genius of a lot of the show.
Yeah. Is that heaviness part of the reason why that the 9/11 episode just never made it to the archives?
9/11. That show didn't make it to the archives for a reason I think you can relate to. We forgot to hit the record button.
Oh man.
Yeah, literally, I will tell you what happened that day. So,
Yes.
for those that don't remember that day, everything started happening early in the morning,
Hmm.
and everybody was at work. And I was released, and JR worked at the same place I did. We were both released at the same time to go home. Mutt, Yappy were released. Rasvar got to go home, and everybody was just not knowing what to think.
Right.
And so Mutt said, "Hey, come over. Let's all be together. Let's not be alone in this." So a bunch of us all got together, and it was currently in at that point it was in Mutt's garage while Yappy's place was being built, and uh, we were talking with some folks online, and Rapid T Rabbit, people had not heard from him yet, and he lived in New York. We didn't know if he was
Mm.
impacted at all. Tony Ringtail was actually actively responding to things in New York City at the time, and people were really worried. And Yappy had the idea, hey, let's just fire up the servers and let's just talk to people. Let's let them get what's on their mind out. Let's let it get
Hmm.
them off their chest. And so people started talking to us, and they were telling us what was going on, and we were relaying. People have heard from Rapid. He's okay. He's back in Queens. He's alive. Tony has checked in. He's okay. Wolven has checked in. Everybody's fine. Um, and in the midst of all of that and the anger and the sadness and the frustration, we never really thought about the fact that what we were doing was anything historic. This was just us talking to people like we normally do in the middle of the
Hmm.
week. So we didn't put a tape in and we didn't press the record button. We didn't think at the time it would be valuable in any way. And
Hmm.
then later on, Yappy was like, we probably should have recorded that. And so on Sunday, people were asking us about the 9/11 show. And we're like, it wasn't really a show. It was real. That was us
Hmm.
using the stage and using the puppets to deal with terror and horror and sadness and anger in a very unusual way. And I believe there is a, a social media account or a YouTube account that says if anybody ever finds that lost episode, it is possibly the holy grail of internet lost media because it was at the time the only surviving artifact of regular people dealing with stuff at the time that was broadcast. Um, most people were just watching stuff that had been filmed by news stations, but this
Right.
was this was just ordinary people talking with ordinary people about something that was just unbelievable that was going on
Yeah.
around them.
Because you for not just that Sunday after, for a while afterwards, I think people were like sending you like letters and stuff about it, right?
They were. Noel McNeil, who played Bear in the Big Blue House, was actually on his way to Orlando, and he came on the show the following week. And he told the story about he was on the tarmac in New York, and he watched the second plane hit, and then he immediately looked on the JetBlue screen in front of him, and he saw it replayed like 2 seconds later. Um, he was talking about how he had to rent a car and met up with a family, and they all drove down toured Orlando together. He dropped them off in, I think, Virginia or North Carolina, and then he continued on. Um, People were sending us letters. People were telling us, hey, everybody's checked in. We know everybody's okay. All our friends are all right. People were talking about restaurants that had been impacted and businesses. Um, and it was kind of a picking up the pieces moment and saying, okay, the world doesn't feel the same anymore. The world feels really different. And it was very heavy for a few weeks. We were trying to be entertaining, but everybody just wanted to let their feelings out. And
Yeah.
so that's, if you go back and watch the archive on those 2 weeks after 9/11, that's exactly what happened. Some were crying, most weren't crying, but there were a couple, but a lot of people
Hmm.
were angry and a lot of people were frustrated. And some people
Yeah.
were very scared and they just needed to be around something familiar. And this dumb puppet show was the
Hmm.
thing they were coalescing around.
Did you have similar feel, not to like to keep it too heavy, but also my knees go backwards, not to keep it too heavy, but did you have similar feelings when COVID and lockdowns hit?
COVID was different.
Hmm.
Um, and I felt probably a lot more visceral during 9/11
Hmm.
because I felt like there was an attack on our way of life.
Yeah.
COVID was something that was impacting the entire world. It wasn't so much an attack on our way of life, it was an attack on life. It was
Yeah.
a pause in the normalcy that we had. And in that respect, yes, people died, but it wasn't inflicted in a specific direction. So I didn't have that same gut check reaction of, there are these two buildings that are kind of iconic to the
Hmm.
psyche of like the American financial system. And they're in pictures of the biggest city in the United States. And now they're not there anymore. And, there are not only deaths associated with it, but it changed like how we fly. It changed
Hmm.
how we respond to things. Um, I remember this is kind of going off on a weird tangent, but I
You're good.
remember as a little boy going to Houston Airport and we could go right up to the terminal and just sit there and watch the planes take off.
Yep.
I could
Mhm.
hug my family before they left. They would before they went on the jetway. I was sitting right there beside them. You didn't have to go through security if you just wanted to watch them take off.
Yeah.
And that era is pretty much gone. That's not something you
Hmm.
can really do anymore. And I was thinking about that kind of thing, you know, when after 9/11 and, after I had to start going through screening to take flights
Hmm.
to cons, I was kind of feeling sad that a lot of kids that will grow up will never have that experience of being able to go up with their parents or loved ones can't go up to see someone take a flight and just give them a hug and a kiss before they leave. I was kind of
Hmm.
sad about that.
Yeah. It's it's interesting. I mean, there's lots of generational shifts that happen. I still have a hard time reconciling that like my own like barrier for like a person is young if they were born, after 9/11, and now that's not even the case anymore, at least when we're recording this in 2026. Like it is still like it's I have different variables and barriers on that end too, but I think about too how because you've been a part of this show that has been relatively iconic for a long time, especially in the furry fandom, like for Funday Pawpet, how would you feel, or how would you describe the way that the audience has changed over the years?
I think in some ways it changed because people can be more interactive,
Hmm.
but I think at its heart, it's still the same. And
Hmm.
by that, I mean what FPS is. It is an ability for 4 or 5 friends who, by all standards, are very normal people who sometimes lead extraordinary lives.
Hmm.
We're very fortunate to live in Orlando where we can go to theme parks all the time and we can do crazy, wacky things in an environment most people only dream of going about once or twice in their lives.
Yeah.
And because we have this sense of camaraderie, we have these relationships between me and Yappy and Simba, Poink, um, now Toxie, now Dashing is joining the fray, and also Fuma. and several other people that are, associated with us. People live their lives vicariously through that. If they can't be at Disney World, they can be listening to some people that are their friends that are there all the time. And they
Mhm.
can have and share those experiences with us, if only by osmosis. Um, I've been told many, many, many times over 2 decades by people I've never met before, I feel like you're my friend. I feel like I really know you, not because I've ever met you, but because I've heard your voice for so long and you've told me so many things about the things you do. I feel like I'm a part of your life.
Mhm.
That's what FPS really is. It's just a bunch of friends getting together and sharing what they do on a regular basis, but everybody accepts it as they're kind of there. They're a fly on the wall watching. And,
Mhm.
and I think there's something really neat about that.
Yeah. It's like again, it's like you never know the audience that you have, but just how people you grow up with people in that sense too. And it's just kind of like fans that were fans when they were, 15, 16, whenever, they have houses now, they have families, they have,
Mm.
and all sort like it's just kind of wild to experience it. But then again, when you're a part of any sort of institution that is this long and has had the notoriety that it has, like that's just so cool to see and experience and appreciate. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it's different from, people that run cons because
Hmm.
con staffing, yes, you have to be there for a while to staff a con.
Yeah.
And no matter, like I said, I helped start one, but the people that do the day-to-day running of it are different now. But, people will say, hey, Megaplex 11, that's my favorite con. That was a con, that I graduated from college from. That was my
Mhm.
celebration trip. Hey, Megaplex 16, that was amazing. I absolutely loved, I met my partner there. You get those kind of messages, and they're special. But when you get someone who's been watching FPS for years and you get a letter that comes into the post office box and says, hey, could you do me a favor? Could you please write me a letter of congratulations that I can read to my Eagle Scout troop? I've been watching you guys for 5 years, and I finally made Eagle Scout, and I'd like to read something from you guys at the ceremony. Or you get a letter from someone saying, hey, we've been watching you guys, for the last 10 years, and we're about to have a baby. We wanted you guys to know. You know, those are things that we can't ever imagine are going to happen. They just show up when they do.
Yeah.
And it really kind of makes you step back and say, whose lives did we touch?
Hmm.
Who have we inspired? Who have we made hate us? That took a different turn.
Uh-huh,
But
uh-huh,
but
yeah.
what lives have changed just because we decided to spend 4 hours on a Sunday night talking about nothing.
Who who was Christopher
Christopher,
with a
trying to
K?
re oh, 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 okay. So
Sorry for the
no,
abrupt turn there,
no, no,
but yeah.
no, no. I know
Yeah.
many people named Christopher.
Yeah.
So Christopher with a K was a friend of mine. He was a friend of many people. He was a fursuiter. He did musical arrangements and tech for his church. And Christopher died unexpectedly. I don't want to go into the specifics of it, but he
Totally okay.
died. Yeah, he died very unexpectedly, and it hit a lot of us really hard. And I remember Chris. I remember him at a convention that we were at. We were roommates that one year, and he was getting into fursuit, and I was sitting on the bed, and I was going to get into fursuit, and he sat right beside me before he put his head on, and he just gave me the biggest hug. And I asked him, "What was that for?" And he just looked at me and he said, "I hugged you because you're my friend." Um, that's the kind of heart Christopher had, and it shook a lot of people when he passed away. But I just remember him giving me that hug and telling me, I hugged you because you're my friend. And
Hmm.
I don't know that you can have a bigger compliment than someone saying that. And that being the reason that they wanted to give you a hug.
Hmm. I mainly ask that because I don't want to, have this whole episode be about relatively sad topics. But, Punk did me one of the kindest things in the world, which is we had one of our guests that we've had on the show before, Satalo, who, of course, created the Virtual Furry Museum. I know
Mm.
Popet is very familiar with it.
Uh-huh.
And when he did it, like it was just a random day. He's just like, I need to take you around to see it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And you see the exhibits and learn about the history. And this is stuff that I was already fairly getting into by itself. But then he goes and he takes me to the ofrenda. And the thing that was most striking to me about the ofrenda was just the fact that it wasn't famous people or prominent people in the fandom. It was anyone. It was
Yeah.
absolutely anyone. And it's the kind of thing where being a part of this fandom, and I have since done the thing of taking other people to that same area and also, letting them cross the Rainbow Bridge themselves before they go into the tribute area to Sai. But like, I remember kind of like being in there and just I love the fact that it was just any person who just called themselves a furry was a part of that. And it's just that thing of just you're stepping into this fandom and you're also stepping into this lineage of just so many great, wonderful people who have come before you. And for me, I always think about there's that adage, and I can't remember who said it, of just you don't pass away one time, you pass away two times. One time is the obvious time, and the second time is when someone says your name for the last time.
Mm.
And to that end, there are some people who will never truly pass away, some for good reasons, some for bad reasons, though. But keeping those names alive, I think, is always important too. So that's why if you telling Christopher's story on this pod is the kind of thing where it's like I still think that there's power and value in that because I think people like that who remain so kind and so pure-hearted and just so incredible are worthy of that kind of you know remembrance. And I don't know, I just more than anything else I didn't want to bring you back too far, but I really appreciate you sharing that because that I think speaks to the power
Yeah.
of
I
the
mean,
fandom is the people you meet in it. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
there was a project. This is kind of on the same page, but there was a
Hmm.
project that we did back in the early 2000s uh, when mixtapes and mixed CDs
Hmm.
were a very big thing. And a group of us got together and we had to kind of design our own like soundtrack of our lives, kind of our own mixtape. And I remember Yippee Coyote created his, he called it the Jimmy Chin Project. And it was
Hmm.
just a bunch of songs. And I remember I had to pick songs that represented me and my journey. And there were a number of various songs that some about heartbreak that I had gone through, some about the loneliness that I felt, some about how wonderful the world is. And I remember very much talking to people about, well, what's the title going to be? And the title I eventually settled on was It's Only Me. And I liked how it was a double entendre of it was saying it's nothing special, it's only me. But the songs represented only me. And it was just the picture on the CD sleeve was just a picture of my character wearing a scarf with his back behind his hands behind his back, just walking like he's walking through a snowbank, and he's just thinking. And I tell that story because when you were talking about Christopher, I remember just how special he is. Not that he was, he is. He still is very special.
Hmm.
Um, but I remember thinking to my friends when I gave them the few people that I gave those CDs out to, it's only me. And I wanted them to look at it and think about it both ways, that it really was kind of a reflection of the feelings that I had in my heart at the time. But at the same time, it's just one person,
Hmm.
it's nothing extraordinary. But at the same time, because it wasn't extraordinary, it was.
Hmm. Yeah. I, it was like literally, I think it was like literally yesterday. I was having a conversation with someone where it was like we were talking about I was actually early today. We were talking with furries with Yavar and other people where the question came up of like, do you believe in ghosts? And I was like, absolutely not. But I do believe that in some instances, if you're especially close to someone, if there's something happens to them or there's a need, you sometimes have this urge to call out. I sometimes feel like that there is connection in people. But like for me, I'm like a full avowed atheist, like pretty much all the way straight through, but I do believe in, at the very least, the goodness in people. And I know that there is not always reasons to believe in the kindness of people, but it is the thing where I have seen the impact and influence of people like that, of people that just seem almost too good for this world, that seem almost supernatural, like by design, who just like exude just either like just creativity or just art or just something else that you just get drawn to and like have that ability to actually affect people's lives. And like for me, like we don't I feel like we're getting so deep into stuff right now, but like I very much kind of have that same thing where I may not believe in any super higher power in the sense, but I do believe that again, the right person at the right time can absolutely change your life in such a profound and meaningful way. So uh yeah. I'm not sure if you want to commentate on that at all, or if that's just I just wanted
No,
to yeah.
I think you said it
Yeah.
perfectly. I mean, you know, you don't know any interaction you have. You don't know if that person's going to be your best friend, your worst enemy, or just someone that you meet for 10 minutes and forget. You
Hmm.
know, what life is fleeting, and we don't really understand like what happens from every interaction until maybe years later.
Yeah.
Uh, but hopefully, as people talk and interact and do things and find their way, um, hopefully everybody does find some meaning somewhere that
Hmm.
lets you think, I didn't go through this life alone.
Yeah.
There was always a person with me. Um, I kind of shared with people, if because I've had some recent scares with my health, uh,
Hmm.
I thought about, well, if I did pass away, what would my legacy be? What
Hmm.
would I want my friends to do and say and think? And years ago, I did write up a request, and my request is, if I were to die and I'm still in the furry fandom, I would want some people to wear all of my fursuits to say goodbye to everybody, because that's how I'd want people to remember me. And I specifically want Yippee Coyote to wear Cuddlepup. He's the only
Hmm.
person I think that could ever do that character justice. But I would want my other fursuits to be worn, and I would want them to stand at the front of the room, and I would want a song to play, and I would want them to wave to everybody as they exit the room. And the song is corny. It's by Donnie and Marie Osmond. It's called May Tomorrow Be a Perfect Day. And it's basically the song that they closed their show with. The lyrics go, May tomorrow be a perfect day. May you find love and laughter along the way. May God keep you in his tender care until he brings us together again. May the sunshine be within your heart when sorrow and sadness and tears would start. May the memory of the love we shared reassure you that someday, somewhere, we'll walk hand in hand. The time is very near. The moment we long for is almost here. I'll be with you. You'll be with me. And together we'll laugh once again. That's how I want to be remembered. And then at the very end, there's a really strange little goodbye, everybody. I would want KP to be the last character out. I would want Yippee to turn around, wave to everybody, and just when the song says goodbye, everybody, I want him to wave goodbye and quietly close the door.
Yeah. That is, I think, profoundly and incredibly beautiful. Are you, and sorry, we're getting into it, but
No,
like,
that's okay.
do you,
But like
yeah,
that
yeah,
is
yeah.
that was the last song on that soundtrack of
Hmm.
It's Only Me.
You're happy with the legacy that you would leave in this place now after everything that you've done, which is quite a lot.
You know, happy is a
Yeah,
happy is a
yeah,
is a
fair,
loaded word.
fair,
I
fair,
would
fair, fair,
say
fair, fair.
I would say I am content with things that I have given people if they feel they got something out of the things I gave them. if they felt like I made a day easier, I gave them a reason to go on when they felt like they couldn't go on. Um, if they felt like they had a friend when they didn't think they had one, I would be content with that.
Yeah. I think that's and yeah. And I'd say that's just, and it's the kind of thing where now this is basically the second time that I've met you properly, but it's just like, some of these stories that you've already told over the course of these two episodes have definitely had impact. I mean, like already on me. Uh,
So I can give you a
I ha
happier story if you need something upbeat at this point.
okay, okay.
So um, here's comedy 101.
All right, here we
Um,
go.
when when you live in Orlando, and I've told this story before, when you live in Orlando, you have access to a lot of things. One of the things that we're lucky to have is a fairly good comedy club on I Drive. And so Fuma and I, uh, about a year ago, went to this comedy club, and there was a one of the comedians couldn't make it, so they got a replacement comedian to come in from New York. And he's obviously struggling because he wasn't prepared. And so in the middle of the routine, he's like, "Hey, do you guys mind if I try any new material on you?" And we're all like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." So he's telling a bunch of jokes, and he's trying to be edgy, and he's trying to be funny, and he's flipping
Oh
through his
no.
phone, and he says, "Are any of you people trans?" And Fuma and I literally, from looking down at our drinks, just kind of look at each other and turn our heads, kind of very theatrically turn our heads to watch him. And he goes, "I don't care if you, I don't care if you feel like you're male. I don't care if you identify as female. I don't care what you identify as. Just don't identify as one of those damn cat people." And we're like,
Oh
hmm?
no.
Our heads tilt. And he's like, "Yeah, you know those people that wear cat costumes and they go to conventions and have sex and they're real freaky." Everybody in the room is like going, "What is he talking about?" And Fuma and I are going, "Really?" So he goes, "Okay, well, that joke didn't work." So we go through the rest of the routine. We go through the evening, and we get to meet all the comedians after the show.
Oh
So we're
boy.
standing in line, and I'm meeting all the comedians, and I get to him. And the guy before him was funny. He's telling jokes about getting hit over the head with a flour sack as a kid. Hilarious routine. So this guy brings out all these CDs and he's got them on a table. And he's trying to organize them. I was like, "I really enjoyed your part of your routine." And he was like, "Oh, really? What part?" I was like, "Well, I like things that I can relate to." And he goes, "Oh, what part of my routine do you relate to?" And I said, "Oh, well, I have a hobby." And you were kind of joking on the hobby. And he goes, "What was that?" And I just looked him straight in the eye and started rocking. And I said, "I run conventions for people who identify as cats." And he just looks up and goes, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a furry." And I actually help run furry conventions around the United States. And he just puts the CD down and he goes, "You're joking, right?" And I'm like, "No, no, I'm dead serious. I'm a furry." And he was like, "You don't identify as a cat, do you?" And I was like, "Oh, come on, be serious. I'm talking about I'm a furry. I help run conventions. I don't identify as a cat. I've got a lot more self-respect than that. I identify as a dog." And he just looks at me, big-eyed, "What?" And I'm like, "It's until this summer, then I identify as a yellow polka-dotted kangaroo." And he just puts his pen down and his CD down. And he goes, "Man, I wish I didn't have to sell these CDs. I have got to talk to you." And
Wow.
yeah, I was just like, "Well, I'm gonna be in the bar right over there if you want to. I don't drink, but I'll be in the bar right over there." You're like,
Yeah.
"You don't drink?" And I was like, "I'm a furry. My life's weird enough. I don't need alcohol." And he never bothered to show up. But
Oh.
Dag nabbit.
it's funny when to me, it's funny when people start making fun of the furry fandom without really knowing about the furry fandom,
Hmm.
and you just kind of poke them a little bit, and they walk into that trap, and you just let them fall right into it. To me,
Every
that's really
time.
fun.
It's all again, but also like, the ongoing joke that is true. The hater to furry pipeline is so very
Mm.
real. And it's happened time and time again. Uh I have to ask one question though, because Dingo has brought it up, and I'm going on a completely different tangent. Dingo brought it
Yeah.
up about his original Dingo Row fursuit. I've
Mhm.
seen all the photos of the Cuddlepup fursuit, including him as a superhero.
Uh-huh.
Are the foot paws actual shoes, or are they just pillows?
They are slippers that were
Okay.
there were on that particular suit because the feet have been replaced on that suit several times.
Yeah.
The original feet were custom carved with big round toes. Uh, and the toes were uncomfortable to wear because they were really long and I would trip on them.
Hmm.
So I had other feet made that I could slip shoes into or slippers, and they were made by a costume company here in Orlando. And those are the ones that to this day still are KP's feet. But the original feet that had those toes with the superhero look, we called them the tennis ball toes. Those are just big, giant, long toes that were carved as a custom foot.
Incredible.
Yeah,
Incredible.
yeah, the person who built
Well,
them had a thing for big, long paws with big toes. So he was definitely a
I'd
paws
never
person.
I've never known anyone in the fandom that likes
Yeah,
paws.
never.
No,
Not a
nobody.
single
It's a
person.
rare thing, my friend.
Truly, absolutely. I think that the last question that I have for you directly right now, and like again, this is a free-form episode, we're doing whatever. You were talking about some of the other sodas that you have, and you talk about how like you, especially with Cuddle Pop, this was like almost an idealized version of yourself. But you also talked about how Neptune is always paranoid, how Raz Tiger has arrogance on here, and I've known a couple people who, and this is a relatively new concept for me personally, but like people who, through therapy, through other things, have created sonas that are almost meant to be more emotionally load bearing, not
Mhm.
aspirational, but like people that like sonas that have had to be like different parts of themselves, but like carry on some of the traits that are not necessarily aspirational on you. Like when you're Neptune paranoid Raz, when you're Raz arrogance, when you have these different elements inside, is it what's the feeling like versus like standard fursuiting in terms of like these aspirational characters? Like, are you exploring these aspects of yourself? Is it just a different vibe? It's just this is relatively new to me, so I was just kind of curious.
Well, for me,
Mhm.
this journey is unique.
Yes,
I am definitely not like this is how everybody else does things.
you're definitely not a Popufur. That is
No,
exactly.
no. But with like with Neptune, for instance, um, I acknowledge the fact that those feelings are there. They are a part of me. They are a part of everybody. However, to create a character that is really a stylized and very elaborate form of an insecurity or something you're not comfortable with. It's a way for you to deal with things and then create something that's lovable about it. Yes, Neptune's nervous. He's paranoid. He thinks everybody
Mhm.
wants to get him because he's got blue fur and blue fur is rare. So he thinks everybody wants to grab him for his fur. So he likes to hide behind things. He likes to fidget. He likes to kind of skulk in the background and keep an eye on things to make sure it's safe to come out and talk. Well, once you have identified those characteristics, you can create an entire comedic character, around it. And so like one of Neptune's mannerisms, because of the way that his head is constructed, if he's like fidgeting or something and somebody says something to him that he likes, that resonates with him, he will turn his head immediately and go, yeah, 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 yeah. And he will bounce his head up and down so that his nose bounces up and down. And it looks like he's actually saying, yeah, 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 yeah. Um, when you do things like that, all of a sudden that paranoia doesn't feel internally, it does not feel as intense as it used to. Because now there's something funny about it. There's something
Mhm.
very comforting about it. With Raz being arrogant, the tiger will just like he will jump at the front of a fursuit parade line, whether he's supposed to be there or not. That's just what he does.
Yeah.
He will, if people are getting ready to take a picture, he will stand right dead center in the middle of the photograph and spread his arms out and say, "Look at me," even though he's blocking three other suitors. But when you start behaving that way, you learn how to curtail it. you figure out, wait a minute, this isn't nice. This is not the thing to do. Maybe I should ask people if the shorter people want to be in the front. Maybe I should ask people, hey, do you want to lead? I'll follow you. Um, for me, exploring those negative traits and turning them into positives or turning them into something good is part of how you create a really robust performance.
That's incredible, genuinely. Punk, just to briefly pivot to you on this, because Punk is someone who has a lot of characters that he's developed over the years. His Red Fox is basically Punk, I think, at this point, which I think is his natural state. There's
Yeah.
punkydmouse, his character, his British one. And then I've only recently become acquainted with Saren, and
Siren, yeah.
Siren. And is that your more introspective iteration that you would say, or am I getting that wrong?
Kind of. Yeah, I would say he's more between like him and Dr. Mortem, that character.
Hmm.
They're kind of the same. But I think Siren, well, with the story I have with Punky and Siren, Siren is more of the like collected one. Like he can still be goofy at times with Punky, but he's very like reserved and very professional. And then I guess he kind of captures my more serious and annoyed side with, I
Hmm.
guess, how people are. That's his whole thing. He studies people. Like that's his
Hmm.
research is the human race.
Hmm.
And it's kind of like just him trying to understand like why people work. Because
Hmm.
that's me. Like I'm always interested in people and like how they think and how we think as, a species. And because everyone's different. There's no one side character. Like everyone has like eight, 10 personalities within them. So it's kind of that,
Yeah.
yeah, I would say introspective, but also kind of annoyance with certain things.
I can't possibly imagine being annoyed by a furry. Not once, not ever. I don't think
Never,
that's on the
never.
radar at all
Especially a
whatsoever.
cat. A cat
Especially
furry. Yeah, like
not,
he's,
Oh,
not a cat furry
stop being
whatsoever.
those cat people. No, just kidding.
yeah,
Well, most importantly, Keifi, thank you so much for joining us here. If
yes.
people wanted to find you and or if there's something you wanted to plug, what would it be?
I would want to plug that hole in the fence. No, I
That original hole in the fence from the original Over the Fence Productions days. Let's be so real.
that's right.
What if it's a chain link fence?
Oh, damn
Oh,
it.
then
There's all the
that's
holes all over.
Yeah.
octopus territory. That's
Fair.
Yes.
yeah. I would say if anybody is wanting to check out the Pawpet Show, just head on over to pawpet.tv. If you want to see old episodes and go experience what it was like to watch on Real Player, you can go to some of the older episodes in the archive, like Real Player buffering.
Oh
Um,
my God. Take me
but
back.
yeah,
Memories.
there's over 25 years of puppetry and friendship and kind of just craziness on that site. Sometimes arguments. Sometimes you'll find some of the rare arguments that we had on camera. They do happen, as happens with people. But
Mhm.
yeah, check out the Puppet Show. If you want to join us, you can. There's a watch link. You can see us live on Sunday nights between 6 and 10 p.m. If you want to catch up with me, I'm out there on Telegram. I'm on uh, Blue Sky. I'm not that hard to find. I keep Cuddlepup with a K as my handle wherever I can, just because it makes
Mhm.
things easy because I'm an old guy who with a feeble brain, so I don't have to remember too much. Um,
Yeah.
and I do actually have most people don't aren't aware of it. I do have oh, what do you call it? Not a Patreon, a Ko-fi, a coffee
Oh,
page.
Kofi. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, if you search for Cuddlepup with a K under coffee, you'll see some of my calligraphy because that's my non-furry kind of hobby. Uh, and I do every once in a while when I have time, I do commissions for people. I write original fables or original nursery rhymes, and then I put them on parchment as in old calligraphic illuminated writing.
Nice. That's way more impressive than us saying, "Hey, find us on YouTube." But I think that is, I just all appreciate it all the same. KP, we've taken so much of your time already. Thank you so much for being here. It's
Yes.
truly an absolute
No,
honor.
thanks for listening to me ramble.
Yeah, we'll cut out about 80% of it, but I think we'll still make it. We'll make something legible. I'm kidding.
Yeah, if nothing else, make some paper dolls that are all holding hands.
No worries. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Find us on the socials. Give us a follow and let us know. I'm definitely not popular for podcast at gmail.com if you got questions or comments. We will talk to you next time, everybody. Take care. Goodbye.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.